Boy, do we have a top 5 today for you. It's National Bacon Day. So our top 5 bacon dishes or ways to eat bacon, however you want to describe it, coming up in hour number 2 of the program. I worked very hard on this list. Spent a lot of time in the morning meeting working on crafting my top 5 that we're going to do in hour number 2 of the program.
It was a tough one. Tough one today, especially as we got to the bottom list. I imagine, given where we're both from, we'll have a similar top of the list.
I think our number 1 will be the same. I don't know what we're going to do after that. But if you want to weigh in, you want to join us and have your top 5 list of bacon-related dishes on National Bacon Day, phone number is 480-864-1060. You can share your list over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream as well. And however you want to interpret bacon dishes, if you want to just say, hey, I like bacon on this, however you want to put together the list, we'd love to hear from you today on the show. It is the last week of preseason for the Arizona Cardinals, and it is up in the air about whether or not the Cardinals will play their starters in the third and final preseason game against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Cardinals, to the surprise, I think, of many, including myself, played the starters in the first game of the preseason, and we encouraged it. We said it was a pleasant surprise that the starters were suiting up in preseason. We felt like preseason needed to be used to ramp up here a little bit. This team has gotten off to slow starts in the past. This team has a really soft, squishy part of their schedule at the beginning, and they can't afford to hit a roadblock, a speed bump early in the season just because, we're shaking off some rust, or, the starters didn't play in preseason. So while we didn't think it was going to solve everything, it was an encouraging sign from Jonathan Gannon and the team that they felt the urgency, right? It was more of an optic thing than anything else, that they felt the urgency the way we feel the urgency around this season. And then the second preseason game happened, and we thought maybe there would be a continuation of those starters playing, that it would be a slow ramp up, and perhaps they would play in the second preseason game, play a little bit longer, and then the third and final game is when they wouldn't really play at all. They would back off a little bit. Well, Sean Payton's the one that revealed this to all of us, but the two sides agreed to not play their starters in that game, so we didn't get that over the weekend. Cardinals didn't fare very well with their backups in against the Denver backups, and so that leads us all to today. That all leads us to what they should do moving forward. And I'm not sure what they should really do. There's a very strong case to getting some more reps, maybe playing a whole quarter or a couple of series, and making that the final note before going into the beginning of the season. But then you also just have the cloud that hovers over any preseason game. And that cloud is, these games don't matter. Don't put yourself in harm's way. Don't increase your risk with the season just around the corner. You've made it this far without a serious injury to your quarterback or to your star wide receiver or to your star left tackle. Why risk it in the third and final preseason game when the regular season is right there? The regular season, you can see it on the calendar. This isn't June or July, the beginning of OTAs or training camp, and you may want to push the guys then, or the first preseason game, the first weekend of August. We are about to change the calendar to September. Week 1 is right in front of us, and you have a chance to get most of your team healthy to that finish line, to the start of the year. Is it worth it to risk them in the third and final preseason game? That's the gambit that Jonathan Gannon has to decide. And I don't know what I would do if I was in his spot.
It's a tough decision. Because I keep saying, look at the Bengals. And I know Jim Rome did something in the break, and I heard him talk about it yesterday, about how what a dumb decision by the Bengals. And the defense was the problem. The Bengals were one game away from making playoffs last year. They scored 10 points in the opener. They started slow. Like that is, if they came out and played in the preseason and they scored 17 points, they would have won week one and been a playoff team.
And that's your reason for playing in the preseason, right? You are trying to, I don't think, especially with the limited reps that preseason, even though starters are playing more this preseason than in recent memory, you are not going to completely erase a slow start. But what you are trying to do is limit how slow of a start it is. You're trying to jumpstart your team just a little bit quicker than maybe it would take if they didn't play it all in the preseason. You are basically trying to win on the margins here. You're trying to do just the bare minimum, just the little amount that you think is going to get your team started and avoid what happened to the Bengals last year, losing that first game at home against the Patriots, not scoring enough points, and that game being the one that everybody circles when they at the end of the year miss the playoffs. You are trying to find that little edge to find just enough playing time for your starters in the preseason to try and avoid that. You're not trying to make it where going into week one, you're firing on all cylinders. That doesn't happen anymore in football. And I don't know if it ever happened.
No, and I think that looking and saying, oh, we want to be firing on all cylinders, that's a dream, right? That's a fever dream. But who's the gold standard of the NFL over the last few years?
Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs play their starters every year in the preseason. Every year. Isn't that the gold? Isn't that who you're chasing to be?
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's the end-all, be-all.
Yeah, I do worry about just trying to emulate one team because there are other teams that are not successful to the level of the Kansas City Chiefs, but are constantly posting to the postseason.
Certainly, I'm not saying that
differently.
I'm not saying that there is a, certain right way to do it. Look at the Eagles last year; they didn't play a single starter, right?
There's no one
the
size.
Chiefs always play their starters. There's no one right way to do it.
Yeah,
but I'm tired of. I would never play your starters. The risk of injury is too big. The Chiefs do it every year. Every year.
I think I feel differently about it in the third and final preseason game, and it's more of an emotional thing for me. It's more of a psychological thing, and I can see the beginning of the season. It's right there. That first preseason game, even though it's still in August, and it was 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was, 2.5 weeks ago, that feels like forever ago. It feels like the start of the season is far away, so I want to get these guys these reps. Now that I'm here, now that I'm on the doorstep, the season right in front of me, I think I feel the risk a little bit more. I think I can sense it a little bit more. I worry about it a little bit more. Maybe in the first preseason game, I can convince myself, even if somebody gets a little banged up, there's plenty of time before the season begins. Now, you're right there. It's right in front of you. You would hate for something to happen in the last preseason game when up until this point, you've had a pretty good, not perfect, but a pretty good, clean bill of health.
To this point, you've been good. I wouldn't. Do I think they'll play? I really don't think they'll play.
I don't think so either. I think they're going to feel good about things. They had the joint practice that they felt really good about. They're going to practice again this week. And I think they're going to err on the side of being cautious and just getting ready for week one against New Orleans.
But I see the value in playing their starters. Listen, whether they play or not this week, they're beating New Orleans. And I mean this in the nicest way possible.
Sure.
New Orleans has a Hall of Famer in Cameron Jordan, and Alvin Kamara, who is another outstanding player, probably Hall of Very Good. But other than that, that is the worst roster in football.
Perhaps you would say stink out loud.
They stink out loud. That's a must win. Like, you just have to go down there and take care of business.
Yeah, easy. Don't do the show before the show. I want to talk about this in hour number 2 of the program, the way the early part of the season sets up for the Arizona Cardinals. And that's why it's so important to get off to a good start, and that's where you can convince yourself to play those starters over the weekend. But we'll monitor this. We'll keep an eye on it. If Jonathan Gannon tells the media a decision one way or another, we'll obviously break it down here as the week progresses.